This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Money Talk, now we bring you a dialogue on bids for coal blocks allocation. The participants are Professor Aman Agrawal, Indian Institute of Finance, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, economic journalist.
The coal block allocation for 31 out of the 204 coal mines has far exceeded the expectations of the Ministry of Finance, which is looking at revenue collection. Dr. Aman Agrawal, did you really foresee the projections of someone like the former Controller and Auditor General of India, Vinod Rai, in terms of what would be the realization from the auction of coal blocks?
Certainly, as you point out, the expected value has gone much beyond what has been collected. Not to forget that not only 1 lakh crore would be kept by the centre and the balance would be distributed among states. And this would certainly benefit the states because most of the states which have coal and otherwise in this country today are suffering from financial liquidity problems, are having a backslash in their deficits, and they're not doing so well. So from that perspective, I think this auctioning structure would give them good amount of revenue stream to actually take care of some of the basic needs of which the states have for the people at large. Now from that perspective, certainly this news is good, and the very fact that the expectations have crossed beyond is there. Certainly there will be some rise of inflation which may be observed for the common man, primarily because the businessman, the private enterprise who is paying the price would not keep the price to himself, will transfer it to the consumer. And the largest consumer for coal is the government itself, whether it is producing energy or it is for the railways or any other source, which is the largest consumer is the government. So naturally, when the exchequer is ultimately going to pay for it, it will be for the consumption of the common man, usage and facilitation of those facilities, whether it is power, electricity, or in terms of railways and so on and so forth. So ultimately, things would certainly go up. So there is expectation of the inflation getting a little hit on this. But given the fact that large chunk of this money will go to the states, they will benefit them initially and in the long run as well.
Well, speaking about the allocation of union tax receipts in a structured manner to the states from 32% before to 42% now, and allow the states to develop themselves as microeconomies with their own budget deficit targets and revenue and expenditure receipts. Looking at it from that point of view, clearly the states would benefit from the new formula that has come up by the Prime Minister's office, especially under the stewardship of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But there is also right now the segregating of coal block bids into power and non-power captive use. Now, if it's for power use, do you see maybe the tariff concessions, which is also being now figured, in effect would benefit the consumer in terms of, if not a fall in prices, but the prices remaining constant?
What you pointed out rightly is the fiscal the division, which is there from 36% to almost 42%, which is a very good move. I think the government has made a move which very few governments could dare to move forward. And I think this would empower the states to function more efficiently coming ahead in the years to service the public at large. When it comes to reducing the tariffs, there are a large number of components which come into play. There are moves, there are interests of doing so, but not to forget that the government today, the central as well as the state government, are looking at other sources of energy as well when it comes to power distribution, which is nuclear energy. They're looking at hydro-based energy, they're looking at wind energy. All these steps have already been initiated in the last 4 or 5 years by the previous government in terms of creating some.
But the rollout of these alternative sources of power, which are subject to agreements and clearances and supply agreements, not only domestically but overseas as well. Just looking at the domestic situation right now, if you look at the offsetting side of what the government is trying to do, apart from the power tariff concessions, which may or may not benefit the consumer as we expect, there is also the factor that the government is looking to roll out the goods and services tax. Do you see that as a factor which will offset price rises?
I think GST is a very good move. It has been in the need. I think it will remove some of the anomalies which have been going on. It is a system which has been well thought about and has been in debate for the almost last 4 or 5 years now. And they've been wanting to introduce it. I think when they start introducing it, we will see some benefits coming forth. And the consumer at the end of the day is expected to benefit, as it is expected to happen from the system the way it has been designed. Given the fact that large number of states also have the central government position position, large states having their position as well. We expect the movement in the GST would be a little more smoother. And also the fact that this fiscal stimulus which has been given from moving to 42% would also show more confidence in terms of states, in terms of wanting to adapt to this system as well. I think from that perspective, it will certainly be beneficial, and I think people would at the end of the day benefit in the long run.
Well, apart from the concessions given to the state government in a greater share of central revenue, the rollout of the goods and services tax, which may offset some of the price rise we expect in terms of the retail price of power. If you look at the other side of this story, there is also greater transparency in the coal block auction process, which was not seen before and subject of investigation and scrutiny by the different enforcement authorities, and is sub judice as well, what we can call it as a scam, or the coal block scam that the government has been burdened with before.
You see, certainly from a common man's perspective, there is high level of transparency which is visible in the e-auction process which has been adopted. Certainly it was going to benefit the kitty, the mediators, the intermediary personnel who were there, the black money which was being generated in some of the auction processes or allocations of some of the natural resources which used to take place in this country. I think this step has certainly done away with some of those components. To think that it will certainly completely do away with the way corruption has been going on in this country, I think it is a myth. Something which has seeped into almost every functionality would not do away, but yes, it will certainly benefit, and it is now commonly known to everyone who is being auctioned what is one getting, what is the prices. So even from the corporate perspective, they are also very much vigile, and they know exactly what price has one product or one particular mining or one particular asset gone for, to whom, for, and for how many years. So this is very clearly evident and visible. It also helps in terms of developing an appropriate mechanism for pricing of the product. So even the government knows that since the person has paid this much auction, this much resources are expected to be extracted, and so hence the price would be somewhere around this range. So even the producer who is going to charge for this particular service, he cannot say that, I had to pay under the table, or I had to do corruption charges, so my cost is not X, as the claim was done by Enron way back in 1990s, that look, the power is not coming to me at this because I had to pay so many charges and so on and so forth, and that's why I'm wanting to charge a much higher price as against what I had agreed for. Now those kind of things those kind of misnomalies will do away, and this will ultimately, as I said, benefit both the government and the people at large.
So the people are the electorate, they're the consumer of power, and they're being made aware of how the pricing structure of power is now taking place, and the transparency we are seeing in the coal block auction process is going a long way into ensuring that confidence building measure is once again reinforced into the public's mind as well. Speaking about valuations and the realization of revenue, because the government at the end of the financial year will have to look at the report card as well, and this transparency process has realized a great amount of revenue. I started this program by talking about the revenue exceeding expectations. Now, there are some technical aspects called net present value, because the realization will not be over a period of 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, but 30 years. So for the benefit of our listeners, could you just explain this in layman's terms?
In the theory of finance, we have something called time value of money. The product we can buy with 1 rupee today will not be available for the same amount of rupee tomorrow because of inflation. It will decelerate at the rate of inflation. Something which I can buy for 1 rupee, tomorrow I may have to spend 1 rupee 10 paisa or 1 rupee 20 paisa because of the rate of inflation which is going on in the country. Now, given that the net present value or whatever the total realization in absolute value may be would certainly tend to amount to be a little less than as compared to what it is expected to be. But these are all projected values. If inflation goes down to the level the way they are projecting and the way it has been decelerating, we would not see that depletion of value take place. But more than that also, it is important that there is this mechanism. Each method which is adopted can always be questioned. The fact that they're looking at some of the latest techniques in finance which are being practiced by the corporate world is clearly visible, certainly is an acceptable term. This has been one of the methods which is used in project financing by large companies, large banks, large financial institutions worldwide for the last 30 years. So I think to question that and to think that the net realization may be less, it may be even more. You do not know exactly whether it will be exactly less or not.
In fact, on that point itself, because the earlier estimate was for It's already hit 2.07 lakh crore rupees for the 31 mines that have been successfully auctioned out of 204. And now they're coming up with a new estimate for the remaining mines which have yet to be auctioned and which will be auctioned. The government may realize 10 to 15 lakh crore rupees in revenues. So it's a great deal of money that's come in. And surprisingly, it was not revealed during the budget exercise itself.
Correct. And I think one more thing which is visible from this, what you said, is the market activity and the kind of confidence the market is having in the government, the process, and the tomorrow of India. You see, the way they have shown this bullishness clearly is an indicator of the way India's market is behaving, the kind of confidence they have in the coal process, the coal products which are there going to be outlaid by these companies. They have that confidence. And this particular overshooting of the figure clearly is evident. It also shows that the corporate world in India is quite confident about the government and the processes being adopted by them, and they are happy about this. And that is why it has overshooted the expectations which most people had or what they were projected.
The role of the Power and Coal Minister Piyush Goyal, who has come up with this exercise that has exceeded expectations, I would say not only of the common man but also of the ministries themselves. What were the thinking and the preparedness that went behind the coal auction itself?
I think the most important component is the transparency, and that the people must feel confident about it. In this process, I think the whole government has been moving on building up confidence. Whether when we look at their journey from beginning, they developed an international confidence. They restored the value India has in the international market by telling them that India is still the golden bird and you must come and join us in our hands of prosperity and growth. And this is something which went out very strong, something which the United States of America has not been able to do in the last 5 or 6 years after this world financial meltdown started up in 2007-2008. They have been able to establish that confidence not only locally but from an international market perspective immediately within a span of 4 to 5 months. So building up confidence is very important. You know, a patient dying on the deathbed in an ICU becomes strong and doing well once he has that confidence to move forward. And I think this is where the confidence has come in, from changing from a country which was being talked about as policy paralysis, going into a stalemate, no one wanting to invest. Now we have countries who are neighbors, who are other countries who do not at times have good relationships at times from time to time. Even they are willing to invest a huge chunk of money in the prosperity of this country and seeing prosperity for themselves growing with India per se. So from that perspective, I think this process, the ministry has further put forward that stage of bringing in confidence and transparency and telling the people at large that we are for you, we have been elected by you, and please understand that we are here to make you feel proud of the fact that you are a Hindustani and you can live a legitimate and a comfortable, honorable life.
That's a very interesting point you made, because buying behavior only comes with confidence, and with the Prime Minister's office and the ministry restoring confidence in the private sector as far as the India growth story is concerned, this year certainly seem to have put in their weight behind when it comes to buying in the auctions themselves. Do you see this trend continuing not only to the coal sector but to other sectors as well, for instance Spectrum?
I think you're very right. I think after this coal process finishes, they are going to move into other segments also, because the government had already laid almost about a decade back this process of disinvestment. They wanted to move out of certain sectors which does not involve government altogether, but they had to put a stop because of large number of corruption cases coming up, the non-transparency factor with various ministries taking place. And I think with this success process here which has been seen and the overwhelming response they've received in terms of the people wanting to buy through this auction mode, I think they're going to move on in not only Spectrum but other assets of the government which they want to liquidate for people to hold.
So we're looking at infrastructure, ensuring supply and building sentiment in the market. Is that the strategy of the government of India?
I fully agree with you. That is something which they're strongly looking forward to.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aman Agarwal.
Thank you.
You were listening to a dialogue on bids for coal blocks allocation. The participants were Professor Aman Agrawal, Indian Institute of Finance, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, economic journalist. It came to you in the program Money Talk, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at talksensd@air.org.in.